how's it going? My name's Colton Maravelius, or as the internet calls me, Ill-Fitting Trousers.
I'm Brennan Howard, otherwise known as Quirkus Jerkus.
And this is the Weekly Rundown, the only podcast that's gonna put some dirt in your eye. Um, today, it's stupid. I love the one-liners, but they're always stupid. Anyway, today, guys, we are here with one of the nicest people I have ever met. I've had the pleasure of meeting, the Landi Lodge. Landy, how's it going today?
Oh, what's going on, guys? I'm doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm very much looking forward to our discussion, but I'm doing great, man. And again, a lot of gratitude to both of you for having me on. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I know this is going to be a great podcast. I knew when we met, we were at KH20, and that's how I don't think I've ever listened or saw one of your streams beforehand, and I've been missing out ever since. I've missed out that whole time. I've been missing out.
Dude, I feel the same way about you, man. It's been a pleasure tuning into you doing your thing since I've met you.
But Landy, where can we actually find you for your podcast, your streams?
Gotcha. So you can actually find me everywhere. So I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, the whole thing. So the Landi Lodge was founded with the podcast, which again can be found like on all platforms. But over on YouTube, we also do some live streams. I drop a bunch of Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy theories for people to enjoy. And we also host the podcast out of YouTube as well. So you can find me, blue logo with a big pink eyeball in the center. Again, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, The Landi Lodge, Landi. You can't miss it. If you love RPGs, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, even things like Pokemon and Persona, this is definitely the place for you. But I'll leave it at that. The shameless plug, I'll leave it at that.
Gotcha. But anyway, yeah, no, the great plug. And today we're talking about walking mechanics in games, which was a wonderful suggested topic by Landy. It was something I've never ever really thought about, beforehand. Like he gave me a homework assignment and was like, think about walking mechanics, and it's insane because it's not easy. They're so overlooked. But Landy, I did want to pass the beginning topic to you before I go too in depth on them. I always like to, give our guests the first word for sure. So,
of course. Okay, so first, I think before I give my very, very objective opinion on walking mechanics, I think it's important to let your audience know exactly where I'm coming from. So, guys, I primarily play RPGs. So, like, if you're someone who's more into platformers or you're more into like sports games or shooting games, walking mechanics aren't so important in those genres as much as they are in the, say, action adventure RPG genre that I personally gravitate to a whole lot. So, with that said, one of the things I love the most about video games and the ones I particularly choose to play is the sort of immersion you get in these worlds, right? And again, I'm speaking primarily from a place of Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. The way these games have a way of immersing you into these fully colorful, fleshed out, foreign and alien worlds you've never seen before in your life. And they all do a very good job at it. And there are things that you can credit that with, like the music or the world design or the world aesthetic or the character design. But to me, one thing that has always really helped me immerse in a world is walking mechanics. Now, why is that? Every type of gamer is different. Me personally, if I spend $60 on something, I'm going to milk that for every hour that it's good for. So when I reach a new level or a new plane that I happen to think looks really nice, I want to walk through it. I kind of want to put the game on pause. I don't need to be go, 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 hold the sprint button, fly through the game, kill the enemy, fly through the game. If there's a beautiful song playing and a beautiful atmosphere, I want to soak in it. I want to, a prime example, if anyone out there has played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm talking about the Chapter 8, Chapter 9 area where you meet up with Aerith and you're walking through Midgar and the song Midnight Rendezvous is playing. You're on your way to Walmart. There's this blue-green Mako-ish air in the sky. The characters just having this dialogue. And the last thing I wanted was any of that interrupted by an enemy encounter. So, to Final Fantasy VII Remake's credit, they made a walking mechanic that is very easy. It's just a slight tilt on the joystick. You move through the world, and I was able to really take it in. So to me, that's what walking mechanics come down to. They're not going to help you in combat. They're not going to help you get through the game. That's not what it's about. But when it comes to immersion, giving the player the ability to seamlessly slow down and stroll and take things in, to me, it is such an under-discussed thing. And I think series like Final Fantasy have a knack for doing it well.
Yeah, I was actually Final Fantasy Remake has been kind of one of my more recent. I'm replaying through it right now on my stream, but
dude, I played it like 5 times, and that I got 5 more in me.
Yeah, I think I do too, honestly, because like, you were talking about like it doesn't help you in combat, but I gotta admit the combat, the walking in the combat is really immersive though, because with Final Fantasy Remake, you can switch between characters. When you're playing as Barrett in the combat part, he's heavy. He like you can feel like the heaviness in the analog stick as you move it. And like Tifa, a little faster, a little, a lot more faster than Barrett, who's like 300 pounds of pure muscle versus Tifa, who's like
pure bison.
Yeah, exactly.
300 pounds of bison.
And then you got Tifa, who's like 80 pounds soaking wet, like but there's a clear difference in the movement, and it was I think like right after we talked about the topic, I played Final Fantasy and I was like, wow, okay, wait, you can feel it, and it's great, like Brennan's making me play Halo also. Master Chief's like this heavy.
Yeah, about moving slow.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't even run with Master Chief. It's walking, or at least in 1 and 2. That's where I'm at right now. But I think it fits though, because he's in this huge armor, this just heavy armor too. Like it makes sense that it's probably hard to run in that. But yeah, I think it does affect combat, not in tactical ways, but just immersive ways, honestly. And I think that's really cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, like in the way where when you're holding down Barrett's firearm, the way that you can kind of, like when he's not shooting, you can move around a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But while he's shooting, you're kind of limited to these like lateral movements, like sidestepping and walking. And like you said, like it feels a lot better that way, as opposed to somebody like full sprint while firing their weapon. And it's like, listen, anyone who's fired a gun before knows you are not full sprint, hightailing it and firing an accurate shot. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
But by, like you said, by slowing Barrett down and by grounding him to the floor, you really feel like you're wielding a gun. It makes wielding him, like you said, feel so much different from the 100-pound soaking wet Tifa that's one analog tap away,
Yeah, that's...
Well,
oh, go ahead.
It really comes down to balancing it out a lot, especially for shooters. Like, you look at Halo, there's a whole stink about adding sprint to it. It really doesn't add too much, and they're kind of leaning into the more movement shooter craze that's going on. But there is something to be had with everybody moving at the same speed and how you can learn to maneuver with that. Yeah. But also it reminds me of what you were just saying. It reminds me of TF2. I haven't played this Final Fantasy, but he sounds kind of like the Heavy, who's a slower, bigger target. But he's got the big gun, and then he got the Scout, who's a lot faster, low health, and he's got his stingers.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially it for like almost every video game ever. You have characters who are lighter, characters who are heavy, and I think the walking mechanic aspect of it helps you feel more like those characters. And I think I talked about this on our like controller episode too, but that's what I love about like the DualSense controller. Like I feel like I can feel every movement with that controller.
I have to say
Yeah.
that was one of the things when advertised. Can I curse on here?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Fuck yeah,
that's
you
one of
can't.
thank fucking
There you
God.
go.
But that was one of the things when they advertised it. I was like, you guys are so full of shit. Like, I'm gonna care about how the terrain beneath my feet feels. And now I wield it and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, actually.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
no, I
And you
mean,
know something? You know something? You know where I felt that the most is in walking mechanics,
yeah.
believe it or not. That's where I felt the dual sense the most, is actually when I'm playing Final Fantasy 14, which, by the way, legendary walking mechanic, let me tell you. So they make it very easy and seamless. You just lean slightly on the analog stick, all you need to do. But what they allow you to do is while you're walking, if you just tap L1, you can put the controller down and your character will walk in that direction automatically.
Mm.
Wait.
And now that's a whole different level of immersion where I will pinpoint on the map where I need to go, line my character up, send him for a walk. And there are times I'll just kick back and I'll watch it, or I'll just look at it, or I'll tilt on the right analog stick and get like a 360 view of the whole world and like look around, look above,
Mm.
look to the sides. It's again stuff like that that fully immerses you. And again, anything that slows the gameplay experience down. Like I will admit, I'm Mr. Walking Mechanic asshole over here, but I'm the same guy who, when Final Fantasy VII Remake first dropped, I was there most of the time. I was just sprinting because I was like, I need to know what's happening. Because without getting into too deep a rabbit hole, they make it very clear in the beginning of that game shit's going to be different. Like
Yeah.
very clear.
Oh yeah.
By chapter 2, you know we're in for a whole new ride. So I was like, well, what do you mean? I need to learn more. But upon my replays, a lot of walking and sort of that immersive stuff was going on. But I think that's generally what it's about, right? Like that's as much as they might help you in combat. I know at least where I'm coming from is that anything that can slow down the game for the gamer,
Mhm.
I think is brilliant. Because I mean, think of your favorite map, right? Like whether we're talking shooters or think about Breath of the Wild or Resident Evil, all that. Even if it's a part of the map, like there's some dude who spent a week like making sure that chair looks nice
Yeah.
in that
Mhm.
room. Like, you know, there are people who have like put like little pop culture Easter eggs hidden on like billboards in a city. You know, like there's all this stuff going on, and there's all this attention to detail and care put into these games, not just in their combat and their awesome weapons and cool characters, but like the park bench, dude. Like just read the slogan on the park bench; it might make you laugh. You know, it's like to me, like that's what a lot of this comes down to for me.
Yeah, and I think that just, world building always adds to the immersion too. I want when
Oh
I
yeah.
play a game, I want to feel like I'm the main character. That's I want to feel like I'm in their shoes. And um and yeah, like I said again, like I totally have taken the walking mechanics in games for granted, cuz like
I
everyone's
did
like,
for the longest time
yeah.
too, dude. I was lost. I was blind. I was a sinner. I didn't know about walking mechanics, but then I got older, a little wiser. And now I know what it's all about, man.
Yeah, no, it's
So
like atmosphere is great. It's incredible to have too, of course. But yeah, like just the movement is so great. And I think,
Mhm.
like I spend a lot of this thinking about like bad walking mechanics too. And
Yeah.
one of the things I was gonna say, and I don't want to speak cruel about Final Fantasy VII, but I know, I'm getting that look. You can't jump, and I don't think it's necessarily needed. Don't get me wrong, but there is something about when the first scene Cloud comes in and he does a flip off a train, but I can't step off a ledge that's the same height as Cloud. Like I have to take the ladder. That kind of took me out of the zone the other day. And again, it's not like a big thing, but it is like I kind of want to I kind of want to just jump off the side there a little bit. Like I feel like that's okay.
you want it to
No,
be
I mean, low. I
consistent,
mean,
yeah.
look, I was just gonna say OGFF7 is to me one of those games that can be guilty of lack of good walking mechanics. I
Okay,
would say.
I actually haven't played the original, which I should. I need to get to
Get
it.
on it, dude.
Okay,
Get on it.
because it seems very important to remake, which is not what you would think remake would be like. Like you think it would just be the same story,
Leave it to
but
the
it's
Japanese. Leave it to the Japanese to make a remake, a sequel.
yeah, yeah. I
Leave
mean,
it to
like
them.
Tetsuya Nomura too. Like he's all over the place.
Dude, he's the guy. He's the guy who wanted to play it close to the original. Apparently, he was the guy in the room who was like, "Hey, we should keep it as close to the original as possible." But like Katase and Nojima were just like, "Yeah, but we could change things and have more fun." And I guess they met in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So, what would you say makes good walking mechanics? I'm thinking like definitely a lot of it comes down to sound effects, especially for
Oh.
immersion. Like, I look at Breath of the Wild and I just remember more so than the fights or anything. I'm spending a lot of time climbing rocks and stuff in there, and you just hear Link's clip clop high heels, clinking and rocks crumbling ever so slightly, and of course the weather. But that's definitely what adds a lot to the immersion
Yeah.
and the painting, really, that the picture they're painting with the game and the world, how that comes together.
One of my favorite like sound effects to hear when I'm walking is whenever you're walking on metal and you can hear the footsteps. That is so satisfying to listen to me. Like it's just it just shows love and care for the game if you have those little details in it.
Well, it's becoming three-dimensional, right?
Yeah.
Like they're trapped on a two-dimensional screen, but things like that, like flesh them out a little bit more, give them more depth. And, I agree with you 100%. Sound is super important. And Breath of the Wild is a great example because I actually think before Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda series is notorious for having god-awful walking mechanics. And here's part of what makes it good and bad. Sensitivity. If I have to like really labor to not put too much pressure on the joystick in order for them to walk, then we have a problem. Now, there's remedies for this, like Final Fantasy X. That's the problem, right? If you want to walk, you do need to be like super sensitive. But Square Enix is so fucking based. Because if you just hold the circle button, you're glued to walking. Easy. You can't mess it up. You can't accidentally go from like walking to running, because that'll take you out of the immersion. If you make a walking mechanic that isn't smooth enough that the player can easily differentiate from when they want to walk and run. Because if you make it too sensitive, it's going to look stupid. They're going to be walking, then running, and then like a slight jog and stuff. So sensitivity is a big part of it for me.
You don't want it to be a mini game.
Right. Right. Exactly. You want it to be seamless. And if the joystick mechanics are too sensitive, well, then make like FF10. Just let the player hold circle and then they're glued to the walk. Now tell me, why else do you introduce that mechanic if you don't think walking mechanics are important? Why do you go through the trouble to say, well, we could just let the player hold circle and then they could walk automatically? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That tells me like they want you to walk through these worlds. They sculpt all these levels. Like the background of my freaking computer is the far plane. You know what I mean? Like they craft all of these things out of nothing, out of just pure imagination. It's not like they're just like, I mean, some games do this, but it's not like they're just recreating the city of Tokyo. Like they're conjuring things out of the bottomless imagination and trying to show it to you. Take a minute and walk and look around and see this beautiful painting these people are letting you walk through.
Yeah.
It's a gift, man. It's a gift. And I just want to say, Legend of Zelda, big time favorite series of mine, but they were sleeping on it. Like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I think would be much better games. I love them, but they'd be even better if you had ways the player could really just simply slow down and really take that stuff in, because those were beautiful games for their time, and those polygons look all weird and janky now, but there's still a certain charm to them. But I think there's almost a crime to forcing the player to run everywhere.
Or roll or sidestep.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great way to explore not just the story, but all the side stuff. And like this playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake for me, I've been exploring like crazy. I've been going to every corner and just like I didn't realize the smallest characters in those games have like elaborate backstories sometimes. Like
It's insane. But
yeah,
that's part of what I mean. Like all that, there's so much love and care for so many of these people, and I wonder if it's a cultural thing, and maybe this is why I'm drawn to Eastern properties. But it's like this is like their life's work.
yeah,
These people, like they're taking it that seriously, and that's
Mhm.
that's what makes them good. That's what makes them special. That's what makes them timeless. You know?
yeah. Now I was also kind of thinking too though, like not only are there like it's a great way to explore the story, but I also like when it kind of tells a little bit of how they walk. So like, I think Resident Evil 2 is like the best thing that comes to mind when you're like badly hurt. You're kind of like
Mm.
walking with a limp, and you're like, I think sometimes he's like holding his arm. And it's so, it's great. Like you're invested in how just you being hurt affects how you're playing.
And
And
it keeps you from having to break your immersion to look up at the health bar on the top left of the screen.
yeah, that's true.
Yep.
I also like and I know this is a little off topic though. I do like when you're like badly hurt and your controller, like the lights on it change to a different color. Like
Stuff like that.
they'll go from like green to red or something. And
Mhm.
it's such a small thing that's like, "Oh yeah, I need health." You know, it's great. It's great to have it.
It's like those LCD TVs they have now where like the back of it has like freaking, lights on the back that match the color of what's on the screen.
Oh, I
So like you're watching an action
Mhm,
movie and there's an
mhm.
explosion, it'll light up the back wall behind the
That's
TV.
sick. That's sick.
that's yeah. I
Everything's got to be RGB though.
yeah. It makes the computer run faster.
Yeah, it's good for the toilets too.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Um, and like just other games too, or like I don't know.
Well, I'll tell this. I'm gonna trigger the internet. I know when it's gonna happen. I know when I get canceled. It's when this new Sonic the Hedgehog game comes out and I complain about the walking mechanics. I guarantee it because that world looks beautiful. I know it's Sonic. I want to go fast, but I also want to take a little stroll. And I know people are gonna hate on me. Your point of Sonic is to go fast. I'm like, I don't care.
play
I don't care.
yeah, play Sonic the
Sometimes
way
in
that's
life you gotta
fun.
slow down, Sonic.
Yeah, play it the way that you're gonna have
The
fun with it. You know,
the world's
That's-
first slow run. See how long
See how long it takes
it
you to
lasts.
beat.
You walk the whole level. I love it.
Uh, yeah, and so I might. I speaking of triggering people, um,
Yes.
I know there's a lot of like conversation about if Kingdom Hearts the original needs to be remade, and I don't agree with that. But I do want to point out I don't like the walking mechanics in that game.
They're awful.
They're dated.
awful.
They're dated as
They're awful.
they were good at the time, I feel like, but like even with the HD remakes, they didn't fix them. They didn't, and it's just it's so clunky. And I kind of get it because that game kind of was adding like platforming mechanics.
Yeah, I
And
love how they
yeah,
pretty much abandoned that.
yeah. Well, that was
Like,
such a
yeah,
smart
we're not
choice.
gonna be a platformer. We're gonna be an action game.
Well,
And I think everybody agrees with that.
the plan was to compete with like Mario 64, wasn't it? When they like
Now,
yeah. So
yep.
I get why
Yeah,
they
well,
were
that's
doing
the guy, like how Mario 64, they went into these paintings, and these paintings took you into all these different worlds. That's kind of where that got their minds turning. Like, oh, how do we get our characters to like jump between worlds?
Disney. It did. I do love that, but like, yeah, I don't think the game needs a remake, but like, yeah, those walking mechanics are very dated, and
Absolutely does not need a remake.
It's
Your
beautiful.
your favorite game from when you grew up does not need a remake.
No,
I'm just gonna say
it will
your
never live
favorite
up.
Game, it'll
Yeah.
never live up. And if it If you want the remake so bad, that means you love the original. And if you love the original, that means it's worth playing. This was my take with FF7 all along. I love FF7 original. I've played it so many times I'm bored of playing it, like in a lifetime. I've played it that many times, but I still love it. And it's one of my favorite games. And when I saw that remake wasn't just a shot-for-shot remake, it was actually like a sequel in whatever way it's going to spin. They're still playing that card close to the chest. It could be a time loop. It could be our alternate realities. Who knows? Who knows? Could be a second lap on life. Who knows? Who knows? But a new story is being told. And to me, that makes it all the more exciting. Your favorite game doesn't need a remake. It's beautiful and perfect just the way it is. Like with this FF9, right? Like there's all these rumors of a Final Fantasy 9 remake, which, don't get me wrong, you make the shot-for-shot remake, I'll play it, I'll have a good time. But do you know what I want? Something new.
Yeah, 9-2.
9-2.
Yeah.
9-2.
I remember.
That's what I want.
Actually, you talked about that on another podcast too, another episode. I remember.
Yeah, I repeat myself.
Yeah.
What can I say?
No. I remember that like very vividly because I listen to you while I'm at work, and it helps me get through the day, of course. But I did want to point out
hearing a lunatic scream about RPGs.
Yeah,
you know
it's great.
If that helps you get through your workday, I'm here to fulfill that role.
I did want to point out, because I read Brennan's mind when you said your favorite game doesn't need a remake. He's going to bring up Halo.
That's what I'm known for. I can always connect Halo with it, man. Anything. But I guess we've been playing Halo 2. You know, he just streamed it last night. We've been playing. I can't play it with him because it crashes and they won't fix it. It's been this way for years. But... it's more of a remaster than a remake, I guess. But
remaster's a different story, you know.
Yeah. It doesn't change any of the mechanics or anything.
Yeah, but
it's all graphical, and those graphics are really good.
Yeah, those graphics are a big difference because you can switch between the old and the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like in the middle of the game.
Cool.
Yeah.
See, remaster's cool. If you just want like a fresh coat of paint on your game, that's a different story. You know what I mean? But if you want something rebuilt from the ground up to just tell you the same story from 30 years ago, well, I mean, you're taking the fun out of it.
Kind of a waste of money too.
Yeah.
Is it Crisis Core that's getting a remaster?
Yes. That looks like with cards withholding. Who knows if anything goes on that's different or there's any sort of games like that, but that would be a like shot-for-shot remaster, just making the game look modern and pretty and aesthetic.
Well, I mean, they already have like all the assets, like they might as well. And it I don't know, it looks good. I haven't played it, obviously, because I didn't play 7
original. I never had
original.
a PSP back in the day. What a time to live, dude. What a time to live. When I was young, all my favorite games were scattered across like freaking 9 consoles, half of which were handheld. And now it's just like everything gets a PS4 port. And it's like, okay.
But everything's getting ported. Like an hour ago, they announced Pokemon Puzzle League is coming to the Switch, like online.
The N64 thing, right?
Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, it's either ported, remastered, something. But everyone's nostalgia is making games sell again. Like old games sell again, and it's I know that's way off topic.
That could be a bit of a problem, though. That could be a bit of a problem, though, right? Because like now we know why Nintendo's so stingy about their IP, because they know they can just hold their cards, repackage it 20 years later, and serve it up on a plate, and people will buy it.
Yeah,
you know,
for full
no, I mean,
price.
Well, look at
exactly.
Look at The Last of Us. Like, we're getting a remake of it looks beautiful.
And don't get me wrong, it looks good.
It looks
good, but it's like, do you really need it? Like,
no, you don't. You don't need it. The only thing I like about it.
No, Culture lost me at Lion King. Once they remade Lion King, I quit Culture. I quit Culture. Everything. I import all my Culture from Japan now. Once they remade Lion King, I was just like, why?
You didn't think it needed Seth Rogen?
It looks worse. It looks worse than the 90s movie.
Yeah, no, it does.
Worse. It cost them like 10 times more money. And it looks worse.
And can you call it a live action movie when it's all CGI?
No,
but they did.
It's a mess. It's a mess from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I to this day have not seen it, Lion King was my favorite movie growing up as a kid. And I to this day have not seen that remake. Won't watch it. I think I just quit Western culture after they remade that movie. I need a tea break. I need like a 10-year tea break, and maybe I'll come back when they start making like Star Wars movies not about Skywalker.
Like I didn't really mind the live action remakes, I guess. Because sometimes live action, like I like Emma Watson. I'm totally interested in watching Beauty and the Beast. But like, yeah, like Lion King didn't need a live action remake when it's all CGI. Like, what is the point?
We know what they're doing. They're just renewing their copyrights.
Yeah.
They're just renewing their copyrights. And they didn't do it in time for Winnie the Pooh. So now he's public domain.
Yeah.
So now how do we make Winnie the Pooh the walking simulator game?
I mean,
it's free money.
Yeah. That's great. So Tetsu
you don't have to pay out. There's no licensing fee. He's public domain now, bitches.
Tetsu Nomura can do whatever he wants with him in Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yo. Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine he just went unhinged?
They just do the horror movie that they're putting out.
Well, what they could do, like, I think Winnie the Pooh originally comes from some, like, black bear in Canada or something. Now, I could be a total crackhead about this, admittedly.
Okay.
But I think Winnie the Pooh comes from some, like, black bear in Canada. And can you imagine Nomura went and just like dove into that Winnie the Pooh?
And
the Bear of Darkness?
Dude, the Winnie the Pooh universe is about to expand like you wouldn't believe. I'm talking multiverse. I'm talking series.
If we're going to the real world, just make it a real bear then. Like just a real black bear in Canada. If we're doing the whole unreality stuff, or like Quadratum stuff, might as well go all out. I know Brennan, Quadratum was probably way over the head because I know you have. Landy, if you also want to pitch Kingdom Hearts to someone, I've been trying. Get this man.
No, this is my pitch. My pitch is that it's not for everybody.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my frontal pitch. It is definitely not for everybody. If the idea of falling down a rabbit hole of a psychedelic fairy tale, then it's for you. If the idea of a psychedelic fairy tale sounds fun, then Kingdom Hearts is for you. Because to me, that's exactly what it is. And that's why it's no coincidence the first world you go to in the entire series is Alice in Wonderland. Because that's the vibe they were going for. They wanted to throw you down the rabbit hole. They knew what they were doing. So that's what I would say. Not for everyone, but if psychedelic fairy tale sounds like a fun time, get on the ship, man, because it's only getting crazier and crazier as we get older.
Yeah, that's what. Kingdom Hearts 3 made that very clear that it was gonna just get crazier from there. Yeah. Anyway, back to we totally went off trail for a bit, but
oh yeah.
Ironic.
Yeah. Speaking of trail,
I did fact check myself, by the way. Okay. Winnie the Pooh is originally a girl cub from Canada.
Okay. Huh.
So I got the Winnie the Pooh stuff right. The walking mechanic stuff, I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Hopefully
I got the Winnie the Pooh stuff right.
Yeah. The canon lore for Winnie the Pooh is it's a cub in Canada. I love it though. And okay, so walking mechanics too. You said I know you said you don't really do platformers too, but I gotta say
I do play platformers, and I would say Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey, great example.
Yeah.
Great example. Easy walking mechanic. Lots of different characters you could take over with the hat that have a nice, easy walking mechanic. And Odyssey knew what it was doing.
Oh, they all feel so different too. They really do. Like especially like from what like I guess the bullet doesn't really walk, but you could take over like a Bullet Bill to a T-Rex. Yeah. And it I love that. I also like more of my favorite platformers is like Ratchet and Clank right now. Okay. I got really into Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart But the movie,
I have heard amazing things about that
it's
game.
so good. It was so good, and the movement was so nice. The atmosphere is so pretty. You want to walk around, you want to explore it. I think I platinumed that game in like 3 days because I couldn't
Dude,
put it
that's
down. And
see, I was always a Jack and Daxter guy. Like that's who I wish they'd bring back.
but it well, like with, I think one of my favorite like walking aspects of Ratchet and Clank too, because it's a lot of shooting.
Mhm.
But like while you're shooting, you can do like dodges, but they're like side flips, like almost like a, like a backflip, but like from the
Right.
side while you're shooting to dodge it stuff, and that just feels really natural, and you don't miss a beat with it. You're still shooting
Right.
while you're going, and I think especially with an action packed game like that, you don't want to miss those beats while you're fighting. The movements have to be smooth. They have to be there to keep you alive. Really,
Yeah.
like if you die because the movements are bad, you're not gonna want to put the game down. It's like Balan Wonderland. I don't know if you you don't want to touch that game because the movements are not there. They're terrible. No.
Prime example.
Yeah.
Enough to ruin it.
Yeah,
Enough to ruin it.
I'm so interested in that story, but I played the demo. I'm not touching that game ever. Like.
I mean, why would you?
Mhm.
I'll say this. Here's a game out of the hat that has a very good walking mechanic. Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing. Because you know something, if you're gonna work and build up that island, you're gonna want to stroll through it.
Yes.
And I don't know about you guys, I hit that Animal Crossing craze. I played the hell out of that game. And I built an awesome island. I would call it a masterpiece of an island, but it looks like a child's fucking like crayon drawing compared to my wife's Animal Crossing island. So I'll give myself pretty good. But it felt good after like hours of work to just kind of walk and just like see everything that I built and see what the hours of work it turned into. So I would say in those builder games, a walking mechanic's important too. My wife played Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2. Those games seem to be pretty good about letting the player slow down and kind of take it easy.
Yeah.
I feel like in those builder games, a good walking mechanic is an absolute must.
Yeah, especially things like Minecraft too. I think like Minecraft can be a little clunky sometimes because it's all squares and everything, but it's not the worst. Like it can be very smooth at times for just blocks.
You mean performance or
just movement wise, But I mean,
yeah, well,
performance is a
definitely,
part of that.
because you look at Minecraft and there's so many like downloadable jumping maps that you can get
Oh yeah,
because it's easy to understand. Like Steve can jump so many blocks
yeah.
perfectly right on the line. It's never off by a bit.
I didn't even think about the parkour maps on there. Yeah.
So yeah, it's easy for people to make your own jumping map in Minecraft because you know exactly how many blocks apart is actually jumpable. So there's not really the whole tweaking just to make sure.
That grid.
Yeah, it's all numbers almost, where it's like it's calculated. Yeah.
No walking mechanic in that though, unless you have a play it with a controller. Minecraft.
I'll say this: I need some walking mechanics in fighting games.
Yeah, well,
let me tell you something.
Oh yeah, just style on your enemies.
Yeah, see now we're talking. Can you imagine? Taunts are one thing, but can you imagine what you would do to a person's brain in a fighting game if after whooping them, you just had the nerve to just like, come on, like if you add walking mechanics to like your standard fighting game, look, Smash doesn't do it. Soul Calibur doesn't do it. As far as I'm concerned, Tekken doesn't do it unless the new Tekken does it, but I haven't played a Tekken game in a bit. As far as I remember, Street Fighter doesn't really do it.
Yeah.
You have like your slow movements and like jugs, but no, I'm talking, I want to just like roll up on you. Like,
well, that's
would taunt someone more than that.
That's a combat mechanic right there, because you look at Elden Ring and you get on a duel or something, and you're walking like you're the main boss, and you're not illustrating to the other player that you're moving around. You're sweating over it. You're like,
Right.
chill, whatever.
You're signaling like, yo, got this. Got this.
I will say though, I like that Street Fighter 6 is going to be kind of like open to walk around. It looks like you could just pick fights on the street, which is what Street Fighter is. But
dude, fighting games need better campaigns.
Yeah,
they got to evolve. They got to evolve.
I do like the Injustice campaigns, though.
I only played Injustice 1, and I did like its campaign a lot.
I do love DC superheroes and stuff, so I think that meant a lot to me. But I did have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I like Street Fighter, just like an open. I don't know if it's open world or open level or something, but like
definitely not open world. It looks like you're gonna have hub worlds.
That's fine. That's great.
Listen, I would take fully fleshed out hub worlds over open world.
Yeah.
I've played a number of open world games, and some of them are my favorite of all time. But do you know what every fucking open world game has in common? It coincidentally has something to do with an apocalypse. So you could just leave 90% of the map open and blank.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I prefer a fully fleshed out city, man. Like a city or a town or a village. Like, give me more. Well, not that open world games can't do that. But I found that games that more focus on hub worlds tend to give more life to their locations than open world games do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the times I'm like you were talking earlier about how important being immersed in the world is, and a lot of times you gotta try and I'm looking for games that have that journey, not destination. So this one game I've been playing lately called Outward. It's like an indie game.
Outward, yeah.
They just had a definitive edition release on Steam with like updated stuff. It's just better now, I guess. But that was pretty cool because it's all about the journey. So it takes a while to go places. It really just feels like Lord of the Rings. You're a little hobbit and you got to pack up your provisions and plan ahead. And then you're out there and you're walking. And then, of course, your backpack weighs you down like analog style. So like each piece of heavy stuff slows you down very slightly until eventually you can't move. And then you got to worry about managing stamina. So in that way, it's a mini game on its own too. But it seems like it's the main attraction there.
I didn't even think about games that over encumber you at all. Like that's an interesting like mechanic, especially for like you have your Skyrim, which I guess would probably be the best example.
Yeah, well, like Skyrim, you're full speed up to a point. You get like 1 gram over your weight limit, and then you're just slow. Yeah. And that's what I thought was so cool about Outward is how it's gradual with each piece that you pick up. It slows you down.
Oh yeah.
Very slowly.
Yeah. That's actually a really cool mechanic. Actually, yeah.
Because now you feel the consequence of the items you're stacking.
Yeah. Like, is it worth carrying this item?
Exactly.
That makes
sense.
Do I really need another axe? Stuff like that.
I think that's very important for the big open world games because usually it's like a looter shooter. You look at Fallout 4 and Skyrim. You're going into these dungeons and you're collecting everything, and then when you go back to town, you sell everything because they always have money for you, and you break the economy for yourself. And I really appreciate that about Outward. Like, I'm looking at like, ooh, here's an axe. I could carry it and sell it, but I won't be able to move, and I want to pick it up and sell it. So I gotta kind of puzzle it out in my head, like what's more important right now,
Yeah. Oh man, that because you've been talking about Outward a lot. lately. I know.
I've heard a lot about it. Honestly, I've heard a lot of good about it.
And yeah, that's something that kind of actually gets me really interested in it. Just a simple mechanic that's very different from its like I want to say competition, but that's not really right. Like it's peers, I guess. You know.
It's definitely very original
Yeah.
in design, uh, having such a focus on the voyage. They do kind of a Dark Souls Z, Elder Scrolls combat style, Z targeting. Um, it is a little bit clunky, so you kind of just got to figure out how to cheese it, sadly. But I just like to log in, and it's got beautiful music, so you can just explore this. They made a pretty cool little world there too to explore, and yeah, it's a slower paced game.
Yeah. You know what's another actually like a really interesting walking mechanic too is stealth aspects in games.
Hmm.
Ah,
Which like I'm when I'm thinking of stealth right now, I'm thinking of Pokemon Arceus. Like kind of hiding in the tall grass, kind of, you
well,
know.
I was thinking similar with Breath of the Wild. You know,
Oh
there's
yeah.
that sound meter, so like it shows the amount of sound your footsteps are making. You know.
Yeah.
I always like that stealth mechanic more than
Mhm.
any other. Like Assassin's Creed, you're basically just stealthy when you go into crouch mode. You know, it's kind of a flat level of sneakiness. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, you can account for that, and you can even take countermeasures like take your iron boots off, and you can sprint and be stealthy at the same time, but you won't have your
Your
iron protection.
Yeah. You know, in stealthy, you could just put a bucket on a guard's head in Skyrim and like sneak around them easily.
Mhm. Yeah,
Loot the clothes off their back.
must have been the wind.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, Pokemon Arceus is just, I guess, one of those stealth mechanics I kind of like. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Pokemon Arceus. I know that's, I don't know, something about that game is just really repetitive to me. But I do like, so I don't play it in like chunk big chunks. But I do like I do like the idea of hiding in the grass and like sneaking up on a Pokemon to get the drop on them, and if you hit them in
Well,
the
because
back,
now like
yeah,
the NPCs are more immersive now. Like when there's
yeah,
consequences for your actions, like it connects you to everything around you. You know, as opposed to things being like disjointed, where it's like you said in Skyrim, you could put a bucket on his fucking head and walk around it.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, so now we're in cartoon world. Which, by the way, I fucking love Skyrim. You know, so please nobody take my words and twist them there. But when there's like again further consequence for your actions, like if you walk too loudly, the enemy's gonna see you. And it's like, of course the enemy's gonna see you. Okay, they can't all be stormtroopers, you know.
yeah,
Mhm. I think that's kind of the thing about Skyrim, why it has lasted so long and been appealing to so many people, is you can roleplay as much as you want. You can
Oh yeah.
play it like Saints Row if you wanted, and Lord knows there's mods for it. But you can lore walk everywhere if you want to,
yeah.
and just avoid the whole bucket cheese. Just to it, I guess it does kind of make you like fight yourself for immersion, you know.
Hmm.
So you really gotta be honest with yourself and say, okay, I want the immersion, so I'm gonna not cheese it and put buckets on people's heads.
Now,
And it's hard not to.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Now when it comes to stealth, though, do you guys like random stealth missions in games, or do you like I don't know how I feel about
There's good and bad.
that.
There's good and bad. Okay, so like it's good example in Ocarina of Time when you first break into Hyrule Castle and you need to make sure
Mhm.
you position yourself on the walls where the guards can't see you. It feels just like the game you were playing. It handles just like the game you were playing. It's simply asking you to do things with different priorities. You can't hack and slash your way through it. You can't platform your way through it. You just have to be stealthy and you can't get caught. Horrible example is anytime they did it in the Spider-Man PS4 game, which was a remarkable game, mind you.
Yeah.
But when they pulled you out of it and made you just crouch around as Miles or MJ, it's like, dude, you're taking me away from the game I love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, the game I love is right over there.
I wanna
and
be
I was having
Spider-Man.
a fucking
Yeah.
great time. And now you're making me basically walk through this cutscene. This could have been a cutscene. It didn't need to be CGI. You could use the in-game models, okay? Right? And you're making me do this. Whereas with Ocarina of Time, it really felt like it because I was still the same character I needed to be, and the game was not, how do you say, locking me in,
Okay.
for lack of a better term.
Locking
Really?
you in. Yeah.
Well, I feel like Ocarina did it in such a way that it does lock you in. You have to sneak. You can't choose to brute force it, which is what you expect from like an open world game. But Ocarina was not as open world as you'd like to remember it. Zelda's always been infamous for throwing mini games everywhere, and that's a big appeal of it is just having all these different activities to do. So it's a completely different game when you get to that stealth part. That's not really a mechanic that you really ever use again unless it's a mandatory
Well,
part.
you
I
use it
think
when you
in
see
Gerudo
the
Town,
what are the undead called? Those undead characters. I always forget what they're.
Stalfos. Or
No. Those are
something?
the
Oh, the
stealthy
Redeads.
sword and shield. The Redeads. You got to be
Yeah.
stealthy for them because they can detect you and they'll freeze you. So
But
it's
even
almost like that mini game, that stealth mission you played as a child in Ocarina of Time was preparing you for avoiding all the Redeads as an adult. And again, like that's another
Yeah.
example because you were just playing the game. It didn't pull you out of Ocarina of Time and put you into this new scenario. You played the game just like you normally would. But in a sense, like Spider-Man, you're pulled away from Peter Parker, you're being given to MJ, and like you're glued in this crouching position. And all you're really doing is moving the joystick.
yeah.
So I think it's black and white. I think there's good stealth missions. I think there's shitty stealth missions. I am all for trying to mix up the gameplay. I'm all for that. As much as I think action combat is probably my favorite bottom line gameplay you could have, whether it be in a fighting game or in an RPG. Action combat is probably my favorite thing to do when holding a controller. However, I really like it when a game can actually mix it up and make you explore other ways to control the character. Some games do that well, some games not so well. But I think, whether it be stealth missions or anything else, mixing up the gameplay can be good, but it needs to have a point, right? There needs to be a purpose to it. Like talking about Zelda before, being stealthy in Hyrule Castle as a kid prepared you for facing the Redeads as an adult. Don't pull me out of things to make me do something that I'm not going to need 20 hours into the game.
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Love Kingdom Hearts. They're so guilty of this. They are so guilty of this. Lately, they're so much better than they used to be. But like back in the Birth by Sleep days, when you're playing fucking like Fruit Ball or whatever the fuck that shit is, and I'm just like, I was having fun playing Kingdom Hearts. Why did you pull me out of Kingdom Hearts to make me play this like fruit volleyball game?
Yeah, like
I didn't give you money to play fruit volleyball. I gave you money to play Kingdom Hearts.
That's the problem is when they make you do it like that,
Yeah.
when it's such a different mechanic, and a lot of the times it's not really fleshed out very well. Like I'd imagine Kingdom Hearts focuses more on their combo combat or however
Action
it works.
combat's primary. Once in a while, they'll mix up with some mini games. They've been much better lately than they have in the past in terms of making those mini games either relevant to the campaign or they're just like fun little side things you unlock. Like in Kingdom Hearts 3, you could unlock, did you ever have a Game Gear? Or did you ever get those old like Burger King like touchpad games when you were a kid?
the L
Yeah,
I
those
forgot
little like 8-bit like gaming watches. Like
Yeah.
they gave you like Burger King gave you game watches for like a bunch of like for Sonic and Mario and all of that. Basically, Kingdom Hearts 3, aside from like good mini games like the cooking, where it's like, oh, you learn this mini game and you get better at this mini game. You cook better meals. You cook better meals. You get better stat boosts. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's how you mix up gameplay.
Yeah.
But
make the mini games worth something. Yeah.
make it worse. But when I'm
But even
playing
then,
volleyball with a
optional.
bunch of grapes, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like, I'm so serious. Like, there are times where, like, a lot of the time, I really just get like 1 hour to play games a day. Like, if it's not streaming a lot of the time, I can open up and like do it for hours. But a lot of the time, I really just get that 1 hour. And a lot of the time, I do it on like my lunch break at work or something. And can you imagine the rage if I had brought like my PSP to work to play Birth by Sleep and I was having a rough day at work and I'm like, you know what? I got 1 hour. I got my lunch. And you know what I can't wait to do on my lunch? Slay some fucking Heartless. Slay some Unversed. I can't wait to just wield my Keyblade and be a hero. And then I boot it up and you make me play volleyball with a strawberry. And then I hate you for it. And then I hate you for it. So I'm like, I needed you today. And you're making me do this. So anyway.
You want to play what you signed up for.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like,
That's
I don't
essentially what it is.
Like, imagine if they put a stealth mission in Doom, you know?
What exactly? What's that doing there? You know,
and especially if it's something you can't skip or do your own way. You know?
Yes. Well, this is one thing I liked about Final Fantasy VII Remake when they did that motorcycle mini game. You could just skip it if you didn't want to do it. If you just wanted to skip over it and go to the cutscene, they gave you that option, and I appreciated that. And that's it. They make it worth it because if you play it and you play it to a certain level, you unlock like a secret cutscene. You know?
Oh, in Final Fantasy, I didn't know you could. I didn't know you could skip that scene.
You could the whole mini game. You could straight up skip it.
I replayed that scene on stream 5 times so I could get that kiss. That's what Jesse's my favorite. I had to get it.
That's how many games are done, bro. That's how many games are done. Oh, you want to play this game? Great. Oh, you want to get good at this game? Well, we got some fan service in the back.
Yeah.
We'll let you in. Like that, but that's the way to do it.
It was worth it. It was so worth it for me. But guys, we are coming up on an hour right now. We are at 57 minutes, so I just kind of wanted to give a notice to get some last points in. I didn't want to leave anything unsaid if something was needing to be said. So do you guys have any final points here?
I feel like we'd be remiss about not mentioning Rockstar games.
Oh, those.
Now that's some infamous forced trailing missions in every Rockstar game. No one likes them. Never have. Keep putting them in there. But they also have developed pretty good walking mechanics, I think. Like Red Dead Redemption, the original one. I haven't played the second one, but you can a lot of times you'll be riding your horse alongside a character and they'll be talking, and it's basically a cutscene that you have to play, but they let you match the speed on the trail and it autopilots it. It keeps you and the horse on the trail. I think The Witcher does that too.
Yeah, I was about to say The Witcher does a lot of that.
Yeah. And that's definitely the way to do that because there's nothing more frustrating, especially if you're on PC and you just have like a W key to move forward. So maybe you have like 2 speeds that you can choose, maybe 3 if you have a sprint, just to be able to match the speed, because there's nothing more frustrating than Skyrim. You're supposed to walk and talk with someone and you just keep passing them. Or if you click your walk button, they'll be passing you.
Yeah, they're like, that's annoying. I
don't know why they always do that.
Yeah, they're like a little faster than your walk, but a little slower than your run.
They expect you to like serpentine and look at everything. Ooh, a cup.
But that's that's how people walk in real life. They speed up and slow down at random.
Dude, have conversations in a doorway. Ugh.
Landi, any final points you want to?
I guess I could sum up all my freaking nonsense. I could just sum it up as when it comes to RPGs, I think walking is important to immerse the player in the world. You need to let them slow down. You need to give them a chance to look around and tilt the other analog stick and really look around at the masterpiece. A lot of these developers worked late hours so that we can not only look at them, but like late hours on the textures of them so they looked immersive. Like that's, to me, immersion is what a lot of these developers are shooting for, and I think walking mechanics is a great way to do it. Additionally, I think in fighting games, walking mechanics would be great because now you can really taunt your opponent. I try to do that in Smash a little bit, but Smash's walking mechanics a little wonky. You have to be like super delicate. But anyway, look, to me, it's all about immersion at the end of the day. That's where the walking comes in. I think games should be enjoyed to their fullest extent. Listen, you spent $60 on that game. Try to get 30 hours out of it, right? So you're paying $2 an hour to be entertained, and that's the best deal you could find out in the world. I'll tell you that right now. $2 an hour to be entertained. Nobody else is offering you that. But anyway,
yeah.
I like the idea that these games can be played and experienced to their fullest degree. And anything that slows the player down to let them look around, I think is a beautiful thing. Whether it come by walking mechanics or take Final Fantasy 15 when they just throw you in a car and just drive you to your destination and you could really just look around. Anything orbiting that idea, I think is great, and I want to see more of it.
Play at your own speed.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. Yeah. I think that's a great point to end on. Landi, I just want to give you another opportunity to plug your stuff. Now that you got everyone all interested in your opinions here, like, let them know where they can find you again.
Guys, I'm very easy to find. The Landi Lodge, Landi. Big blue logo, pink eye staring through your soul. If you like talking RPGs, theories, gaming, I got a podcast. I've got a YouTube channel with theories and videos. So YouTube, Spotify, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, the Landi Lodge, easy to find. Hit me up. Let's talk some RPGs, man, because we are in a golden age right now, and it's not going to last forever.
Sounds perfect. Guys, and I will have all these links in the description below. You guys feel free to find them for sure. Landi, thank you so much for being here, man. This was an honor.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. No, this was such a great topic. It makes me view video games in a completely different light that, like, I feel like I always kind of had there, but I took for granted, basically, or granted,
Well, now you're awake, dude. You're awake.
Yeah.
You spent so much of your life asleep, and now you've finally woken up to the truth of walking mechanics.
Yeah,
you've taken the red pill.
There's a reason your logo.
Full-blown Morpheus on you, though. I'm full-blown Morpheus on you,
dude. There's a reason your logo's an eye, because I'm seeing things differently now.
Yeah, it's all about it's all about reawakening the truth of walking mechanics. That's what it's all about.
So perfect. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
I love you.